to Talk About You, brought to you by the USA Fibroid Centers, where we're dedicated to not only offering you information about fibroids, but also about fibroid treatments like the UFE. So join us each month for our open conversations, our honest conversations about fibroids, where we're going to help you through your healing journey. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Cara Maria. You might know me from MTV's The Challenge, where I've competed in 16 seasons, made it to the finals 10 times, walked away with 2 season championship titles, and countless elimination wins. Competing at that level takes everything out of you physically, mentally, and emotionally. I recently joined Kym Lee on Talk About You to share a different part of my story. Even with all the training and discipline, I noticed that something just didn't make sense. I had this huge persistent belly bulge that just wouldn't go away no matter how much I exercised or ate right. And along with other symptoms, it became clear that something was going on beneath the surface. And that's when I found out that I had fibroids, which are benign uterine tumors. That was a whole new challenge, and I was not afraid to seek help on that.
Hey girl, hey, hello. Welcome to Talk About You, you guys. We're back. We're back. So glad to see you guys. Welcome to Talk About You.
Well, thanks for having me. This is actually a really important thing to my heart because I remember, I think it was a time when I was kind of on a break between challenges that I noticed something wasn't right. And literally I'll fast forward to like when I finally discovered that I did have fibroids. And I remember writing, kind of asking questions about it and documenting my journey. And a bunch of people in my comments on Instagram were like, why don't you try UFE? You should definitely try UFE, because I was dead set on doing surgery, and my fibroid was 16 centimeters at the time. And the doctor was like, I can surgically remove this, but I need to put you on Lupron first. And I remember being so terrified about Lupron, and also knowing that I had to film a challenge soon after. And I was like, I can't be like menopausal Maria, like on these friggin' hormones and stuff while I'm trying to compete. It's already hard enough it's already mentally hard enough. Like, I don't know if I could do this. And so people message me and they're like, Cara, like, you can do embolization. It's like a week of healing. You're not like out of commission for weeks like you would be with surgery. You don't have to do the Lupron. And I was like, am I even a candidate? Like, is this too big? So if I didn't have women sharing their stories with me in my comments and in my messages, then I wouldn't have even knew that I could have that as an option. And that's when fibroid centers reached out to me and told me like they heard my story, somebody saw it, and then they gave me answers that I needed for sure.
Yeah, I also took Lupron before my hysterectomy. And for those that don't know what Lupron is, because sometimes we'll say some things, you guys, that is kind of like fibroid chat. Lupron helps to reduce the size of the fibroid, hopefully, is what they're hoping for when you take the Lupron, so that they can remove them in a different kind of a way. And so you took the Lupron in hopes that your fibroid would shrink, correct?
No, I didn't. So I got saved from that. So I had gone to a surgeon, and the surgeon said my fibroid was so big he hesitated to cut into me, thinking I had a big bleed out risk. So he's like, if we put you on the Lupron, it'll reduce the size of your fibroid, and then we can cut in and remove the rest. And I was like, I don't want to be on this Lupron for 3 months. I don't know if it was a pill, a shot. It's a shot.
It's a shot. Yeah. I had a shot. They may have different ways to give it to you, but I do know the purpose of it is to hopefully reduce the size so that as they go in and do invasive procedures, which most of us don't want to do anyway, I think it kind of lessens the risk. But the whole so tell us, let's go back a little bit, because I think that people want to know. So here you are, you're super healthy. That's why we gave you this huge intro, because we want people to know that even women that are healthy and eating right and have a healthy lifestyle run the risk of having a fibroid. So when is it that you discovered that you had a fibroid in all of you didn't have any health challenges?
No, my mom was riddled with fibroids. I just remember she used to just bleed out through pads and tampon, like TMI, but like she was living in bloody hell. And she was a nurse, and she refused to get herself taken care of. She's like, well, then they're going to want to remove my uterus. And then she just had like so many feelings about it. And I was like, Mom, you already have a kid, like you're already in your 40s, 50, like 50s or whatever. I'm like, take care of it. Well, how can you possibly live like this? And she was basically saying, I can never be skinny. My stomach can never be flat because it's basically like I'm 3 months pregnant, 4 months pregnant because I have so many fibroids. And I knew it was something my mom dealt with, and now I know it can be genetic. Like you can inherit it, you know, from family members if the women in your family have had it. For me, I was so active, so fit, super flat belly. And then I noticed my belly started expanding, like the lower belly. I had like a lower belly bump. And I was like, where is this? Am I bloated? Like I just kept thinking I was bloated. I'm like, if I go to the bathroom, it'll go away. And eventually I started noticing I was peeing a lot. I had pain when I was with my boyfriend intimately. And I was like, something's not right. And then so when I went to my gynecology appointment, I do one yearly, like a checkup. I said, hey, you know, I noticed my strings. Like I noticed that I had an IUD at the time, and I noticed like I couldn't feel where my strings were, and I'm like, I'm worried this thing popped out. Like, can we tell me what's going on? They couldn't find the strings. They sent me to get an ultrasound, or what's the other? Is it an ultrasound or is it? I don't know what it is. One of those
Ultrasound.
something, yeah. So they did that, and then the woman that was there, she's like, "Well, I see the IUD, but has anybody ever talked to you about fibroids?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Please." I was like, "Is it bad?" She's like, "Well, I'm not allowed to explain what I'm seeing here." She's like, "I'll send you off. I'll send all this information to your doctor." She's like, "But I would definitely look into this." And I was like, "Oh no." So then I talked to my doctor. She's like, "Yeah, you have fibroids." I was at 11 or 12 centimeters at the time. And she's like, just give it the year. You know, if it doesn't grow too fast, we can come up with options and stuff. And at that point, I had to immediately get on health insurance because I didn't have health insurance.
Mm.
And so that was in May. I bought health insurance in November. And then January it kicked in. I went back a year later, May, to do a follow up. It had grown to 16. It had definitely got worse. It was growing fast. It was painful. It felt like I had a huge bowling ball rock in my belly. I felt like I couldn't do all the things fitness wise that I wanted to do. I couldn't do like a burpee. I couldn't lay on the floor. Like I couldn't do workouts at the gym. Like anything that put pressure on me. I constantly had to pee. I was not in good shape at all. And there was such an unsightly large bump on my body that I was not happy with. I laid down and it was just like a big ball just sitting there. And I was like, I need to do something. So at that point, my health insurance kicked in. My doctors told me I was now at 16. So I went from 11 to 16, waiting for health insurance to kick in.
Wow.
And
What
yeah,
about heavy periods? Did you have any other symptoms other than, so you were kind of non-symptomatic. I mean, you wouldn't have known unless you had gone in and gotten that checkup, which is why, ladies, it's so important that you get your annual physicals and that you're checking and that you're requesting a vaginal sonogram, which is what I actually just had as well. I had a just recently TMI, but I think we're having chit chat, girl chat. I had a double oophorectomy, which is where they remove both ovaries because I had
yeah,
my fibroids were removed by way of partial hysterectomy, which is when I had the lupron. And since that point, I've had some other challenges with my health. But the bottom line is, I wouldn't have found the tumors that they found in me 3 weeks ago had I not gotten a vaginal sonogram. So I think that that's very important for women, especially if you're feeling the way you felt. And what caused her to do the vaginal sonogram, like you, is that I was having problems with intercourse. I was having a lot of pain down there. And I told my husband, I feel like I got fibroids all over again, except no bleeding. Right?
yeah,
So I remember I had a partial hysterectomy, so I haven't bled in 7 years. And so I was like, this is insane. And so my doctor, she was pressing on my stomach and she said, let's do a vaginal sonogram, which is what you had. And that's where they discovered. So ladies, I think, in addition to knowing that Cara had fibroids, just, you might have fibroids and not have symptoms. You might not know that you have them. And like she said, she felt like she was predisposed to them because of her mom, because they say that they're hereditary. Some people say that they're from food. Some people say that they're from so many things.
Yeah.
But there have not been any concrete statistics or evidence that can prove any of the above, which is why we have to do the research and have these conversations. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned, you're the first interview that I've had, Cara, where the candidate has, or the person has mentioned that they got a sonogram done. And that was how they detected the fibroids. Usually, people go through and they get, they already know, they have an idea, like the clotting, the bloating, the longer than normal periods, the back pain. And so you didn't have all of these things. You only had a few. And so immediately, as your good girlfriend, if you told me, being uneducated, I'm thinking Kym pre-USA Fibroid Centers, I would have probably told you something different. I would have probably told you, take a pregnancy test, or, all the things your girlfriends tell you to do. Do this, do that, do this, because we've always been made to think that fibroids, you have to have this heavy period. And if you don't have a heavy period, you don't have them. No, Cara had no heavy periods, and she still had this huge fibroid
Completely,
that
completely
grew extra
normal.
big in a year. So let's talk a little
Yeah.
bit about how that went with you having to compete with this fibroid. How did that
No.
affect you?
So like I said, like I only went in and got that sonogram or the ultrasound, whatever I got, was because they couldn't find my IUD and they wanted to make sure it hadn't fallen out or got misplaced. So they were only checking for the IUD, but by it had got moved because my fibroid started growing, so it displaced the IUD and pulled it in a different place. So they found the IUD and then they found the fibroids. But like I said, my mom, I knew she had fibroids because she had exorbitant bleeding to death, plus the bloating, plus she couldn't go to the bathroom correctly because it constipates you. It just ruins everything in your body, really. And for me, my periods were predictable. They were light. They were about, in like
Wow.
5 days. Like I had no issues. So every time people think you have fibroids, you must have been exhausted, bleeding to death, tired. I'm like, none of that. Because where your fibroid is in your uterus depends on the symptoms that you get. And I had one that the way they explained it, it was almost like a fanny pack, like the way it was hanging off of wherever it was hanging. So if it's in certain places, it can cause exorbitant bleeding. If it's in other places, it just causes the other effects. So what I was really dealing with was just this huge, like I looked like I was pregnant. I looked like I was 4 months pregnant. My belly was just growing like an alien. It was terrifying. I couldn't button my jeans. I was embarrassed. So I was physically just ashamed of what I looked like. I felt it. I saw it when I laid down, just this big bump on my belly, and it just freaked me out, like an alien was growing in me. And as far as competing or training to compete, it made training very difficult. It made competing very difficult. Like it really impacted me hard. Like there was just exercises I couldn't do. So when the fibroid centers got a hold of me, and I had also people messaging me being like, hey, embolization could be an option, I was like, no, what, am I like a candidate? It's 16 centimeters. It's huge. Are you sure? Like, isn't it too big? And they
Ah.
are. I didn't know. And then I didn't know how it would, if I wanted kids in the future, if that would impact my fertility. So like literally fibroid centers, and I believe it was Dr. White. They brought me in. They answered every single one of my questions. I ended up canceling my surgery immediately and being like, I'm not going on Lupron. I'm not doing this surgery. And I got my embolization. It was a rough week of healing because I needed a lot of anesthesia. So it was really because of the anesthesia that it was a rough week of healing for me, because I'm a psycho with needles. But fell asleep. They did the thing. Woke up. Fibroid started every month. It was like the symptoms were just going away, going away, going away. And my fibroid ended up shrinking. Its maximum shrinkage, which you can hope for with an embolization, is about 50%. And my fibroid shrunk from 16 centimeters to, I believe I'm at 9, or 16 centimeters, and now I'm at 9. So It went from being like 4 months pregnant to being like 2 months pregnant. And now it's just a vanity thing at this point. Now I still want a super flat belly and I want the rest of it cut out, but that's just me being stubborn. But I mean, all my symptoms are gone. It hasn't regrown. It's dead.
Wow.
It was,
And that's key. That's key. I want you to mention that and say it extra loud for the people in the back. It's what?
it's dead. That fibroid is dead. Like I went and got a checkup now, so it's been maybe 2 years since I got it. I'm trying to remember. I think maybe 2 years since I got it done. And when they first did the fibroid, and you do an MRI, so you can see when you get the ink injection, like how much blood is feeding the tumor.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first had it done, it lit up like a Christmas tree. Had huge branches of arteries feeding that thing. It was eaten. Okay. And after I got the embolization, which is literally just, but they go in through your like femoral artery. They do this for tons of tumors on other body parts and organs and stuff. This just happens to be for the fibroid. Radiologists perform the embolization, whereas surgeons perform the cutting and the surgery. So you go to a radiologist. They kind of go in through one of your veins, and they block off the blood flow so that the tumor can't feed anymore. So when I came in two years later and that thing shrunk, there was no sign of life. Thing is dead as a doornail. So it is not feeding, it's not growing. The embolization was an incredible success. I would recommend it to literally everybody. And women, if you feel like something's wrong with you, you know your body. Don't try to tough it out. Don't try to like be quiet about it. You know, don't try to just take the pain and hope it goes away. Get answers. And even if it comes in the form of like an ultrasound or sonogram, you really want to know what's going on and you can rule other things out, it is so worth it to have those answers. And then if you do have fibroids, then now you know that there's options, and then you take care of it and your life is changed. And I hate that my mom suffered for all the years she suffered with hers, because like it wasn't just like the heavy bleeding, because then she went in menopause, the bleeding was gone, but like she was on so many constipation medications. Wow. Because those fibroids, you know, they're so big, they block.
They do so many things. They're little, I call them little demons. They just invade and they just take over, and they wreak havoc. I mean, and they do so many different things to different people. And I just love the fact that this conversation that we're having is so unique, because you had a different experience with fibroids versus a lot of the other women that I interview who were very symptomatic, who had a different experience, even with finding out about different ways and methods. You know, many women don't know that they have options. At least you were given the options. And speaking of options, I love that you said that people were telling you about UFE. I love that people were educating you on that and sharing that. And I really want to encourage somebody that's watching tonight, or if you're watching this at a later time, that you should tell people about this surgery or this non-invasive procedure. We don't call it a surgery, we call it a procedure. Yeah. Because we do it right in office. And as you can see from Cara and so many other women, this procedure works. The fibroid is dead. And so, as she said, it had different branches to it, and it was ready to feed some other sources so it could continue to multiply and grow. And that won't happen now. We have a 98% success rate with this procedure. So you are not at risk of the fibroid growing back. You are, certainly, things, people have different situations, but yes, you can have the UFE, and yes, you can still get pregnant, which a lot of people, think that you cannot. It's only the surgery that I had, which is I had a partial hysterectomy where you're no longer able to have children. And so for women who are concerned about that, I want you to know that. And then another thing that I want to actually share while I have you, that I think is very important, is that I want you all to know that since this is Fibroid Awareness Month, and since we are celebrating all of the women who have been able to overcome this horrific disease that plagues so many women, not only in the African American community, but obviously in other ethnicities. So I want to make sure that you go see one of our dedicated fibroid specialists and see if the UFE could be an option for you. You have educated us so thoroughly because, as you said, the size and location really does make a difference. And many women don't realize that, you know what, I could very well be a candidate. Yeah, my stomach, she said, you look 6 months pregnant and you still were a candidate for UFE. So don't let Dr. Google discourage you, because a lot of times we let Dr. Google teach us all
I,
of the things. You need to
I
call in and make sure. So, did you do any research after you were, enlightened about the UFE? Like, tell us how that journey went. As we wrap this up, how was that journey for you finding out about UFE? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Because I know that you're active. Like, tell us how you felt about it. I know you said you don't like needles, but
terrified. I'm so terrified of needles. But either way, if I'm getting cut open or I'm getting the UFE procedure, I'm gonna have to deal with some needles. Like, I get it. So I was absolutely terrified, but I was happy to know that there was an option that didn't make me go on that Lupron drug, which puts you into temporary menopause, which just wreaks havoc on you. And some people don't even ever recover from the Lupron, even though it's a temporary drug. And B, I didn't have to deal with the weeks and weeks of recovery and surgery, because I don't have time to do that, because I have to be back on my feet. I have to be in shape. I have to be in the gym, because I have to train to win the challenge, which is my livelihood right now. So the other key things that I learned just about between, like I said, surgeons cut, radiologists embolize. So you're
yes.
looking for a surgeon, you're looking for a radiologist. UFE has, the Fibroid Center has all your needs for that. And with that, what the heck was I saying?
I was asking you about the process, like when people were telling you about UFE, how you felt, and did you do your own research afterwards? And
Oh,
you're teaching me. I love that you said that surgeons cut, but that radiologists embolize. I love that.
here's something else.
I love that. Like, I want to get a T-shirt for Dr. White and Dr. I want to get a T-shirt for all our doctors. Okay, that says I embolize. I don't cut. I embolize. I love that.
And the other thing with that, and that my radiologist told me, he goes, he's like, originally surgeons, the way that UFE was even developed was because surgeons would send you to a radiologist first. If your tumor was just too big to be operated on and the risk of you bleeding out was too high, they would send you to a radiologist, get you embolized, have the embolization shrink the tumor, and then operate. But what would happen was so many people discovered, the surgeons started losing money, because after people went and they got embolized and they went to the radiologist, all their symptoms subsided, and most of them never went and got the surgery. They all canceled their surgeries. So the other bonus part of getting embolization versus the surgery is not only your symptoms are going to go away and it's life-changing and the heal time is so much faster, you can also still get pregnant and you can give birth naturally, vaginally. Whereas if I did, and this is still something I'm thinking, like, what am I trying to do? But if you do get a surgery, then you can only, because they're cutting through your muscles and everything, you can only give birth C-section. So UFE allows you to give birth, to get pregnant and give birth vaginally. Surgery, C-sections would be your only option. Just saying.
Gotcha. So someone asked, I'm answering some of the questions. That's why I was looking down. Someone asked, what was your recovery time with UFE?
It was literally it was a week. And I'm more of a baby. So I got it done I think on like a Monday, and it was the Monday before Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. I was back to normal by like Saturday, Sunday. But because I'm a baby, it took me longer. Most people are up on their feet doing their thing the next day. I was crying in bed for a week because I had to have so much anesthesia, because I'm a lunatic with needles and doctors and hospitals, that I was having a panic attack. So I had to my recovery only took longer because of all the anesthesia that I needed to not be a psychopath.
Yeah.
So that's my fault.
It's really and just to kind of alleviate some of the stress from those that are watching, you all, it really is mind over matter. The process of the UFE procedure is so seamless. I mean, the doctors here at the USA Fibroid Centers, because they don't cut, they embolize. that embolization process is really one that they make you feel very comfortable in the office. So women will know that it's not like, you don't just wake up and jump up a week later. You're still going to have a process. There still is a process.
Yeah,
So
for me, it's just like the symptoms. Just like every day after I get through my week of healing after the surgery, it was like, and most people can just go to work the next day after surgery. Honestly, it's like that seamless. For me, I'm just a baby, so I didn't. But I was in the gym about a week later, and every single day, as far as my healing, just the symptoms just went away, and my belly slowly shrunk. So
well, you
it's
were blessed. You were very blessed because everybody didn't have that story. But
yeah.
definitely, I have been told by many women that they've had a process. So it's not like you wake up and you can just run and go. Like you definitely is a week long rest period, and
Okay.
during that
I thought that
time,
was abnormal. I was reading about
no.
people, yeah, you can go back to your usual activities in like 2 to 3 days. And I was like, I
No,
was
that's not even suggested. They suggest a week. They
okay,
just
cool.
suggest a week.
All right.
Yes. So you're
Good.
good. You're
I
definitely good. You're definitely good. But just in closing, for everybody that is wondering, these are again some of the stories that we hear. We have these conversations because everybody's experience is very different, and everybody's body is very different, and everybody's, the recovery is going to be very different. But the bottom line is that the surgery works. The surgery does work. It is effective, and we've had great success with it, and we are very proud of it, and we're grateful for our doctors here at the USA Fibroid Centers. And so in closing, and looking back at your process, what do you want women to take away from your story?
literally, if you feel anything's wrong, get help. Because like the biggest thing is like most of us women are just like, oh, we're in pain, we'll just deal with it, or we'll just suffer through it, or we'll just shut up. And like if you know that something is not right in your body, it might not just be, a lot of women are just thinking they're bloated, like me, because if they're not bleeding to death, they don't know something's wrong, you know? So they could just think they're bloated, constantly bloating, or constantly having to take like constipation medicine, when in reality it could be fibroids. So get yourself checked for fibroids if you feel something's not right. If you're having a lot of pain during sex, something's wrong. You know, if you're constantly having to pee, if there's a lot of pressure on your bladder, if you're constipated a lot, if you feel like you're bloated, if your stomach, my stomach was hard, like a hard ball. That wasn't right. That's wrong. So it's like you need to get yourself, advocate for yourself, and if you don't get the answers that you think, like if they're not taking you seriously, then you go somewhere else. But advocate for yourself. I think UFE was the greatest thing I could have ever done. I'm so glad I didn't do surgery. I'm so glad I didn't go on those hormones. Like that UFE, and with the knowledge that everybody at the fibroid centers has on any question you have about fertility, recovery, the process, like they have so much knowledge and take care of you through everything. And every woman is different. Your body's different. Your fibroid's in a different spot. You're getting different symptoms. You have different recovery. We're all different. But advocate for yourself. And at least now, if, as much as I can like spread the word about fibroid centers so that women know that there's answers that can help, then that's what I'm going to do. And if that helps you, then tell somebody else who might be telling you that they're getting similar symptoms too. You know, we got to help each other.
I love that. And I appreciate that. And we appreciate you here at the USA Fibroid Centers. And we definitely want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And if something that Cara said resonates with you, then we encourage you to, like she said, to get checked out or share this message with a friend. Because again, a lot of times we like to self-diagnose and not have the answers. But I do think that knowing that there is an option or there is some information that's out there that is effective, I think that is going to be good. And I also want to thank the USA Fibroid Centers and make sure that you're following us. I know many of you jumped on to watch, but I want to make sure that you're following us at the USA Fibroid Centers on all of our social media channels, our website. Visit our website. Lots of information is on our website. And then also make sure you call our consultation line. So make sure you call our number. The number is pinned. It's 833-609-1100. Again, that's 833-609-1100. And we are excited that you were able to join us, Cara. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Safe travels to you to New York. We'll see you in a
Thank
couple days.
you.
Thank you. And ladies, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you share this broadcast with somebody because you can save somebody's life. All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.